Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Matt, Sean, and Gabe. ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel. It's another episode of Mattitude, the Eurovision talk show where we talk about, you guessed it right, Eurovision. And after it's been like less than 5 weeks, I think, since the Eurovision 22 season or a show came to an end. We're already focusing on what's going to happen in the new Eurovision year, even though we're not even halfway through the current calendar year, but that's not how we think. So we got to be here and talk about it. A lot has happened. And of course, I have to bring Team UK along because there is no better source of information than Gabe and Sean.
Weird.
Isn't it? But we're getting ahead of ourselves. First of all, hello everyone in the chat. Mate Had, Seister Forever, Matthew Cowell, Osiros. Thank you everyone for welcoming. And we are here to talk. First, of course, we're going to talk about what happened because not everyone is tuned in all week, every day to see what's going on. Just giving you the breakdown of what has happened. And then we'll go from there and share our thoughts. And I think we should all jump right back to it. But before we do so, I don't think anyone had a chance to talk to you guys about the Turin experience. Oh, wait, Gabe, have we had a live stream, right? But Sean, you have not. Yeah, just you, Sean. Tell us a little bit. I know you were there as part of the online press. So you were not necessarily in the press center, but you were in Turin, working, partying, Eurovisioning. So share us your experience. How did it go?
Wow. Well, I mean, it's still not really sunk in. What an experience. First of all, it was my first time going back out there since 2019. So it was just great to get out the country for starters, because it's the first time I've done it since the pandemic. And it was just, brilliant. Italy is an amazing country. I always knew it because I've been a few times before. I loved Turin. It's a really beautiful city, and just I think in terms of the actual contest, I know there was organisational issues. Things could have gone better. I think it's fair to say that a lot of people handling the contest do need to look at how things were going in Turin. But as a fan, as someone who was in Turin, someone who was experiencing the whole thing, I had a blast. It was an amazing time. It was great to see people just reconnect, meet new friends. Obviously, that's the whole point of the Eurovision community, and it's just great to, finally be able to bring people together again. Had an amazing time. Weather turned out okay in the end, even though the first couple of days I was wondering what had gone wrong. Someone had flicked the switch from Italy and UK the wrong way around, so that it was sunny back here and it was rainy over there. But I got to get a bit of a tan at the end of it. So it was all good. Italian food. Lots of beer.
Our team all the time. For some reason, because like I was in the press center, you living nearby, we ended up going to the same pizza place like 3 or 4 times. It's like, can we go somewhere else? I'm like,
I can't remember the name. I'd shout them out if I could remember, but it's basically the one that was like outside the park where the arena was. We'll find it. We'll put it in the comments or something like that. If you're ever in Turin again, go there. Wonderful people. He tried to train his English on us as well. Tried to work out like sort of.
It was really fun. Yeah.
Stop by the Huntsman while you're there.
Yes, the Huntsman pub, best Euro club we've ever had. Best unofficial Euro club we've ever had. Actually breaking the speakers with Eurovision music is a new one. And it opens till 5 a.m.
Since we didn't really have they didn't have a Euro club. I know they allegedly had 12, but none of them were Eurovision. There was one thing where tickets were sold out like 2 minutes after they went online.
There was like Hiroshima pub, wasn't there? I managed to get one night in the welcome party there. That was good. But just on the whole, brilliant experience. Loved being back. Really, really connected me with it again, because there was times last year when I got busy or things got on top of me with everything that was going on, and I was kind of like, I'm not in the Eurovision spirit. But once you're there, it just all comes flooding back. It was brilliant. And from a purely, selfish point of view, what a night for the United Kingdom.
I know.
We'll never forget that night. Sir Sam Ryder of England, of the United Kingdom. You deserve everything that's coming to you, my friend. You absolutely smashed it.
And that's coming from a skeptic who wasn't like very vocal about his optimism previously. So
I wish you could have seen the amount of times me and Sean looked over at each other just in pure disbelief during those results.
So we watched the show together, and we were like, there was times when, we were just happy with the first 4 from the Netherlands. We were like, okay, so we've got points. So
already an improvement.
Something to build on. And then they kept coming, and we were like, what the hell's going on here? I was going to swear then, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I think it was when Germany gave us 12. That was when I was like, okay, something strange is happening here. And then
that's the one that made you
because it's like we had a few 12s when it was like they kept coming. The points, and I was just like, there's no let up here. We were building a bit of a lead, and I was just like, this is just so surreal.
I know, end up with 283 in the jury, I think. If I'm not mistaken.
I think third highest jury score ever, or at least in the new era.
In the new era, yeah. So that is quite impressive.
More than Christian Kostov, apparently, which I was shocked about. I think we got more points.
Are you sure? I thought he was in the 300. No, he was. No, I think he got so many points from the televote. Yeah, I could be right.
I could be wrong.
No, you could be right. I could be wrong.
No, I think he got the 2017 was 2017. That year it was because Bulgaria had like over 600 points.
Yeah,
and it was basically
it might have been Salvador and Christian, and then Sam Ryder, then possibly. Even could so, well, my God. But yeah, and getting 12 points from France, that was a moment when we looked at each other and we were like, well, we're not there. And we were like, surely not. And then we heard Leroy Muni, and it was just, I think that was when we lost our minds. So, yeah.
So I know at the very end, I know we want to move on to 23. Just one last question, since I haven't really asked you guys a question yet. So obviously, when the split screen came up between Ukraine and UK, I think both of you, we all knew it wasn't going to be the UK winning. At that point, were you guys thinking, let us get second, or what wasn't going on for your mind at that point?
I was like, I just pray that we get enough points to go second, because I was like, the second behind Ukraine would have been, is the dream. And shout out to Ukraine. I actually watched the contest back the other night, and there was 4 sort of, now that I've had time away from the contest and watch it back, there was 4 performances that really nailed it, and Ukraine was by far and away the best. It just was like, it was just such an amazing moment. The guys smashed it. I'm really happy for them that they could make Ukrainians proud, and give them this moment of hope in such a hard time. But UK, Sam Ryder, nailed it. Chanel, Spain, absolutely nailed it. Stub, Moldova, nailed it. They were the 4 for me. They were absolutely the standout 4 for me watching it back the other night.
So you think the televoters got it right? Because these are basically, almost the top 4, right? UK came in 5th. Who else in the top in the televote?
I said during my predictions for the final that Ukraine would be first and Moldova would be second in the televote. It just seemed so obvious to me watching the show, and so it proved.
Yep, that is a proof. All right, let's move on to the actual conversation that we wanted to have, but it's good to catch up. And how it works, we're going to talk about what's going on and then answer your question at ESC United in the chat. Clam, thank you so much for the shout out. Just joined to listen and tell you that you all look radiant today. Well, I think the other 2 more than me, but they have so many thoughts. But although Gabe looks really angry right now. But yeah, you're like, but very focused. You're probably reading something or looking at something. I when I focus, I make an angry face or confused face. I look like Tucker Carlson sometimes. It's really weird. So let's talk what happens. We all know that Kalush Orchestra won the Eurovision Song Contest in 22. Fans, we all speculated what's going to happen. Is Ukraine going to host it? Would they be able to do it safely and on Ukrainian soil, actually, we should say? And the government of Ukraine certainly had every intention of doing that. But there was, of course, a lot of chatter going on behind the scenes. We were not all privy to it, of course. And the EBU, the organization that produces the song contest, is overseeing it all. They have been negotiating with Ukraine and the broadcaster UAPBC. Of course, the main issue was always what is going to happen in terms of security. That is, safety is the most important. They said it has become a well-known tradition that the winner of the Eurovision Song Contest hosts the competition the following year, providing certain criteria, including ensuring the viability of staging the event and the safety of all stakeholders, including the public, are met. So obviously that was always the of uttermost importance, and understandably so. Now, due to the whole war and the conflict with Russia invading Ukraine, the lack of a clear peace negotiations on top of it, safety protocols could not be guaranteed and promised. Therefore, the EBU decided not to hold the contest in Ukraine. So they're saying, following objective analysis, the reference group, the ESC's governing board, has with deep regret concluded that, given the current circumstances, the security and operational guarantees required for a broadcaster to host, organize, and produce the Eurovision Song Contest, the EBU, under the ESC rules, cannot be fulfilled by UAPBC. And they continue, the EBU would like to thank UAPBC for their wholehearted cooperation and commitment in exploring all scenarios in the weeks since Kalush Orchestra's win on May 14th in Turin, and share their sadness and disappointment that next year's contest cannot be held in Ukraine. So now the question then, of course, starts, what's going to happen next? Where is the contest being held? And there were other bits put out there. Poland, Sweden, even Spain, I think, mentioned it. The EBU did state that they had a preference, and that would go to the runner-ups of the contest, the United Kingdom, as the replacement host country. And saying, as a result of this decision, in accordance with the rules, and I want to talk about that as well, and to ensure the continuity of the event, the EBU will now begin discussions with the BBC as this year's runner-up to potentially host the 23 Eurovision Song Contest in the United Kingdom. And they do want to say, at least, it's more than a shout out to Ukraine. They want to, as the defending champions, give Ukraine an involvement, the broadcaster, in the whole process as well. It is our full intention that Ukraine's win will be reflected in next year's shows. This will be a priority for us in our discussions with the eventual hosts. So we already heard, there were rumors out there, and it, to a lot of people, was a little bit more of the obvious choice looking at the circumstances. Of course, now a lot of chatter has happened. Let me go to you first, Gabe, on this one. What was going through your mind at first when you saw that statement from a UK perspective and non-UK perspective, like just like objective? You think you were disappointed, just excitement? Because I think it's like almost like a bittersweet situation for you, mostly bitter, but it's still almost like a, what's the word, like guilty excitement? I don't know how to phrase that. Well, how do you feel?
So I wouldn't call the excitement guilty. I think firstly, I think the first thing on my mind, as well as everyone's, is that I think everyone wishes Ukraine could host this. And I think we shouldn't forget that the reason why Ukraine is not hosting this is because of a fascist dictator invading another country in Europe in the year 2022. And when it comes to an event like Eurovision, the kind of joy that it brings us, the kind of values that it stands for, and I think the values that it embodies, the best way we can embody those values above doing a song contest or anything else is making sure that Ukraine wins, and that our Ukrainian friends can watch Eurovision from the safety of their own homes next year, not in bunkers, and not in refugee camps. And that was obviously clear in my mind. I'm gutted that they can't host it, that that they're not able to through no fault of their own. Am I really excited that the UK is hosting it? Absolutely. And I think those things sort of came together. So I sort of saw it, and my first thought was kind of shock, like, oh my God, it's going to be here. And then the sort of reality of what caused it setting in. That said, I don't think there's any reason to feel guilty about, being excited about the UK hosting. And I certainly don't think there's any reason to be pessimistic as a result. Ukraine will be celebrated in this show, I'm sure of it. So hell yes, I'm going to be excited about Eurovision potentially being, being in the UK again. Overall, now my main thought is just like, where's it going to be? Where could host it? And there's a lot of really exciting options. I'll get to it. I have 6 theories, and I'll go through all 6 in order of likelihood later. But I'm just really excited.
Yeah, we're going to go for the potential host cities in just a moment as well. And yeah, guilty is certainly not the right word, because I also want to point out is that there have been rules in place by the EBU when it comes to hosting, and safety is just one of them. And in this year, there is just not, it cannot be guaranteed. Therefore, it cannot be complied. There are other reasons why a country would not been able to host it. I'm just trying to pick one. Let's say Moldova, and I could be wrong. I don't know all the ins and outs. Maybe because it's a small country, they don't have a proper venue laid out. If they don't have the setup to host Eurovision, that could then also cause them not to host it. We know San Marino will not host it, right? If they were to win, because they just don't have the venue. It would not be in San Marino. Therefore, it would also be a situation where we could end up, the second placer actually hosting it, which then takes me to you, Sean. One of the statements, and I think we talked about that in the past with you as well, but it says, according to the rules, the second place I would now be come into negotiation. That has never been really the rule, according to the EBU. It was always like, then the EBU makes that decision. So I was a little bit surprised about that. So when you saw that, we were just like, oh. Like, did you think it was going to happen?
I mean, first of all, I just wanted to echo Gabe's sentiments entirely. Obviously, this is not the circumstances that we would have wanted. Ideally, a UK entry would have won, and we'd have had it sort of handed to us straight away, fair and square.
Yeah.
I hope that our show, if we do get to host this, reflects Ukrainian cultures, celebrates Kalush, gives a lot of hope to Ukrainian people, Ukrainian involvement in terms of production, hosting, interval acts, etc. I hope that on a sort of political standing, the UK government does more for Ukraine than I feel that they are at the moment, because I do feel there are other countries in Europe that are helping out more in that aspect, which I think has been a little bit of a stuck in the core of a lot of Eurovision fans as well, thinking, well, why not Poland? Why not these other countries that have been helping out? But yeah, reading the statement, I was surprised that it came straight to us. I thought it would get opened up to like a sort of bidding process across Europe. Kind of like, I think Junior Eurovision works the same, and that if it's not it was never really officially first refusal there anyway. But it seemed to open up to across Europe rather than choosing a broadcaster and trying to find something from there. So I was surprised by that. I was reading the statement and my jaw kind of dropped at the last sentence, because I was like, no way. Because I just didn't expect it to say, oh, and now we're going to look at hosting in the United Kingdom. I thought they'd just open it up to whoever, was willing to bid. So yeah, it's bittersweet.
It is bittersweet. But...
I mean, I never thought I'd see us host in my lifetime. I mean, technically I was alive in 1998, but I was just a young kid, unfortunately. So I wasn't into Eurovision. I didn't grasp it. So, I think there's a lot of fun police out there on social media that are kind of upset at the British fans just for having a little bit of joy in our moment in the sun, and it's just kind of like, just let us have this.
Yeah,
you look
exactly.
Go on Wikipedia and look at our recent results, and you tell me you wouldn't be excited if that was your country and they suddenly came second and got this opportunity. This could never happen again. It could happen in 5 years.
That's unpredictable. Maybe you just really woken the sleeping giant in the UK, or you're going right back to hibernation. We don't know.
And I have to say, since Sam Ryder did the unthinkable in May, the atmosphere and the whole viewpoint around Eurovision
attitude has changed.
Totally changed in the United Kingdom. It's so
that would have been my next question, actually.
The announcement that we were going to host, I thought was going to be met with, "Oh, why are we paying for this? I thought we left the EU. Oh, well, we're putting all
I thought we left Europe.
License fee, but I wanted to vote out of this thing and all that." But pleasingly, a lot of people are like very happy about this and are actually like excited, and you can see the excitement in the cities that are bidding for this. And it's great to see people actually sort of realizing the potential of this contest. So
that's wonderful, and that is a wonderful, yeah. And as the objective non-UK person on this panel, I want to say 2 things. Number one, anyone who thinks we should wait and see whether or not the UK will host it because it has not been officially announced, it's going to be in the UK. They already mentioned it before. It will happen. It is just now about negotiations, specifics like how much Ukraine and the broadcaster will be involved. There's going to be discussions because it's a unique situation that we didn't have to deal with in decades. So it is different. But if you think for 1 second that the UK will not or cannot host the contest, get out of here. It's going to be there. The question is not if, but where in the UK, because there are plenty of options. Number two, I don't know how anyone cannot be respectful towards the UK hosting it. There is no better solution. We've always said for years, if someone cannot host the contest for whatever reason, safety, financials, whatever it may be, it should go to the second placed country. And this is exactly what happened here. If he would have given it to Poland, if he would have given it to Spain, if he would have given it to the Netherlands, because they all had the different reasons why these countries should have gotten it, there would have been way more of an outrage. I think it's the most fair and appropriate approach. We all said that Ukraine doesn't get to host it of no fault of their own. And that is what probably stinks more than anything, that they, this is all they're being put in this really shitty situation. So we all feel bad for them, but there is no better outcome than having the UK host it. And I'm really glad the EBU said that that this according with the rules, because it has never been the rule. So I'm hoping if this were ever to happen, I'm not talking about another war, but another situation where the winner cannot host, that they will always give it to the second place, even if it's then Moldova in that case. Because I'm always like, maybe it's very convenient to say that because UK is number 2, would have done the same thing for a country that may have less resources. So, but the point is UK is the right choice. And I know for you guys, obviously you're biased, right? But I think even if you put it objectively, it makes perfect sense. And I would have screamed up from the rooftop if it wouldn't have been you guys. So I'm glad that this happened. You're going to say something, Gabe? I saw your mouth open.
Yeah, the other thing that people have been saying, the weirdest argument I've seen on social media has to be in some quarters, people saying, oh, but we can't afford it. The BBC's budget last year was £1 billion.
You cannot afford it, really.
They're trying to cut the budget, Gabe. That's the problem.
Yeah, but the thing is that Eurovision, even a full year, if you look at the amount of money that the BBC spends on average per hour of primetime television, even hosting Eurovision is not out of the realm of things it does anyway. It does big productions all the time. It does stage shows all the time. There's a wealth of experience there, which will keep it efficient and well run, which will save money. And we have a bigger budget than basically any other broadcaster.
Listen,
not to mention the fact that the culture, our culture secretary is notoriously crazy, but even she will recognize the benefit that Eurovision would bring. There will be money for it.
And before you answer, Sean, just letting you know, everyone in the chat, we're going to respond to you as well. We're just in the middle of a dialogue. So when you want to talk to us at ESC United, and I'll try to pick those that are on topic as well. And at the end, we're going to have an open Q&A as well. Go ahead, Sean.
No, I was just going to say, I agree. If the BBC can't host an event of this size, no one can, really, because I don't know the figures. BBC surely has to be one of, the most budgeted, wealthy broadcasters out there. Maybe some of the ones in America eclipse it, I would imagine. But BBC produces programs for all around the world. They could do this with their eyes shut. An event like this, they've done. You look at what I don't know if they had much involvement, but the Buckingham Palace Jubilee thing a few weeks ago that Sam performed at, that's a massive event that they, just got together. It was no problem. A big event. They know what they're doing with this. So I think the EBU couldn't have asked for a better pair of safe hands, really. I don't know if it's going to be bias, but I would have been equally happy if Spain had finished second and they gave it to, RTV. I think they'd have done a fantastic job as well, especially with the way that they hosted Benidorm Fest and all of that. So
I think the same would go for as well the others in the Big Five. I mean, France showed they could do it with Junior Eurovision. Obviously a bigger event, but it's a proof of concept. And I think, and as well as that, I think NDR or ZDF, whichever one's doing it in Germany at the minute, ARD. Point is, the German broadcast, there's a reason there's a reason that, for example, there are all those years, those rumors about if Australia won, it would be hosted in Germany or the UK. There's a reason for that. The EBU maintains very close relationships with these broadcasters. There is a reason for that.
Yes.
Just
a great
just
backup
one other
plan.
point. Just one other point as well. Sorry, just to not. I didn't want it to sound like it's not like big-headedness, because I think most broadcasters, pretty much all of the broadcasters in the EBU, could host Eurovision. Like the Ukrainian broadcaster, I'm sure would have done an incredible job, because they did a really good job in 2017. I would have backed them if this situation wasn't happening. They'd have done a fantastic job in 2023. It's just one of those situations, unfortunately. But the scores of broadcasters across Europe that could have done this and done this really well. But
Yeah.
I just
So-
think the budget is there for the BBC for definite.
So, and now we can look forward to an exciting bidding process and more news to come. One question that in the chat came up, MH was asking, what about Boris' statement? And by Boris, it means Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, on hosting. He doesn't even want it. To add more context there, and you guys probably know even better, it's not that he doesn't want, he's more like saying that it should still be in the UK, in Ukraine. It's like a year away. We got plenty of time to get that all done. Sorry.
Let me just
And
tell you something. If
we
Boris
talked about
Johnson
it briefly
says
earlier,
something-
Sean. Go ahead.
Yeah, if Boris Johnson says it's not going to happen in the UK, it's going to happen in the UK.
Yes.
Anything that guy says just ends up being completely false a lot of the time anyway. And I don't want to get a big ban button from YouTube or anything like that for it. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to help the morale of the average Ukrainian. I think he's coming back and he wants to give a defiant message of the people of Kyiv are out on the streets. They're just enjoying, having a coffee in a cafe out on the street. The place is, still thriving. And Ukrainians want this and they deserve to do it. And he's not wrong when he says that they deserve this, because they do deserve it. They won the contest. But I just think a lot of that was probably just to diffuse the kind of, he doesn't want to come straight out and say, oh, yeah, brilliant, we'll take this off the hands. Because that's not the message he wants to convey to Ukrainians at the end of the day. He's got this great relationship with Zelensky somehow. So I think it's just more of a message for the Ukrainians saying, we believe in you to be able to, beat this evil and come out of the other side and be able to do this. I think that's what he was trying to come across. I don't think it was a message of we don't want it, because he said that they'd be honoured, the UK would be honoured to host this. He said that in the interview. But just I think he's just trying to deflect it a little bit and say, look, let's have a bit of respect for Ukraine here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Any other thoughts to share on this one, Gabe, or did Sean?
Yeah, I think Boris has his own agenda on this, as he does on everything. I think we're talking about two different things here, about the actual reality of what's going on in the contest and the completely different world that Boris Johnson operates in, which is obviously the political world, the diplomatic world. Obviously, they cross over somewhat, but it's good diplomacy to say, oh, well, actually, we think Ukraine should have it. Does it actually carry any weight? Not at all. Yeah.
No, that is what, and we've had politicians in other circumstances make comments, not like a military conflict in this situation, but other reasons why it should or should not be hosted. I remember all the comments, it needs to be in Jerusalem by the politicians, and then all how that panned out. So in the end, they don't even are supposed to get involved, or are mostly. I'm sure they're trying, but it's a difference between the political aspect, as you guys point out, and what the EBU in reality dictates. So I would not put too much weight into that either. And we all understand why it was said. And somebody was asking, and I forgot who was in the chat. Forgive me if I'm not giving you credit, because it's scroll, about they're worried that Ukraine actually now may withdraw from the contest because of this. To provide a little bit more context to why that came up, is because after the announcement was made by the EBU that Ukraine was not going to be the host of next year's contest, the Minister of Culture in Ukraine not just asked the EBU to reverse the decision, but actually demanded it. They deliberately used that actually language in there. And I'm going to read that to you. In response to the published statement of the EBU on the impossibility of hosting the contest, we want to emphasize the following. Ukraine does not agree with the nature of such a decision. So it was certainly purely based on the EBU's, side. When we were confronted with the fact without discussion on other options, we strongly believe that we have every reason to hold further negotiations in order to find a joint solution that will satisfy all parties. And he goes on a little bit more, but in the end, he says, that is why we demand additional negotiations on hosting the 23 contest in Ukraine. Now, my opinion is, I mean, there is no more negotiations. I think the EBU know from early on, like the moment Ukraine won, it is a 90. I cannot even put a number, like a highly, highly unlikely situation that Ukraine would be hosting. And now that we are a month out already and no peace negotiations, it's just the timeline, a realistic timeline. Just they knew there is no room anymore for negotiations. They have to actually continue their work on the 23 contest, as pointed out, because we got 11 months. And 11 months for such an event on that big of a scale is just not a lot of time anymore. They're actually, if the UK, and they will get it, will do it, they're going to be a little bit in a time crunch actually already, especially now there's still negotiations. So I know that I don't believe there's any room for negotiations at this point. Would you agree with that as well, Sean?
Yeah, I think this is following the timescale I thought would happen when Ukraine won. I thought they'll give it a month or so, and they'll work with Ukraine, with the broadcaster, and they'll see what the plans are, see what they are willing to guarantee in terms of security and production and what they can actually offer, and just sort of see how it goes as well. Because obviously, in May, it was still we're still all is very new. We're like 4 months into this invasion. And the information's changing rapidly every day. But I just think I heard someone in Turin, I can't remember who, saying about the insurance on an event of this size is just too. It probably was Gabe actually thinking about it. Yeah, but like not to steal your point, but insurance on an event of this size, they just won't sign it off basically when it's in a country that's being invaded in this way, I guess. Israel might have been similar situation in 2019. I have to admit, hold my hands up, I'm not as fully sort of briefed on that. That seemed like a different situation that I'm not going to get into here because we've got enough to talk about. But yeah, I think security guarantees are important for something like this. And as soon as Ukraine is given the chance to host and there's a venue announced in the city, Russia's suddenly got targets to aim for. I think in the current situation, it wasn't worth the risk.
No.
As sad as it is for the Ukrainians, because I think they would have put on a brilliant show, and I would have loved to have seen them given the opportunity to go, this is us, this is Ukraine for the whole of the world, basically. So it's sad, but unfortunately, as you say, the timescales, we're already a sort of a month behind where other broadcasters would tend to be in their preparations. I do think there's still plenty of time to sort it, because I think, particularly in the UK, things like this can move quite quickly. So, but yeah, they needed to act sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's about them. I think the most pressing thing will be the venue, because again, and I think you posted a good amount of it on Twitter as well, Sean, about there are events already booked years in advance sometimes in certain events. And there was one arena, I forgot which one, where Måneskin is actually booked. Which one was it?
Yeah, that's the O2 in London. It's like the
in London.
In London. Yeah.
Yeah, and there were others. I mean, they can move it, some of it, but
yeah, I mean, fair play to Måneskin. To be able to perform in an arena of that size is incredible. It's just, I found it quite funny that it was happening at the time when it would block it from hosting the actual contest.
I know, right? That was kind of hilarious.
Weird way that the Eurovision is seen in the UK right now. It's like, oh, we can't host it there because the Eurovision winner from a few years ago was performing.
And I'm less worried about the UK fixing the hosting thing. They will do that quickly and efficiently. It's really about securing a venue and everything around it. There is the press center, there is all the other events around it. So that is them. And once that's nailed down, and that takes time, that's why I think the BBC can move fairly quickly because they have the resources for it. So that's why I feel more confident that if they're a little bit behind in schedule, that they can make up time quite a bit. Gabe, so back to that original question, do you think that this whole shenanigans right now that's going on, is there a risk you think Ukraine actually could withdraw out of protest at this point? Or you think that is a little bit of I don't think that's a big possibility. I do think nothing has been confirmed yet by the EBU, but I would assume that Ukraine will keep their final spot in the finals. I mean, that alone would be enough for them to take part, right? Where's your head at?
I think there's zero risk of Ukraine withdrawing. It's too important a piece of. Again, right now, the information war is just as important for Ukraine as the physical war on the ground, and the kind of cultural capital that things like Eurovision provide, as we saw in May, is massive. It is so important for a country in Ukraine's position to continue to be represented at these cultural events, and there's no way they won't do it. So I don't think there's any chance of them withdrawing, and I think the discussion is over. I think like the Eurovision Song Contest will be in the UK next year, and I think Ukraine will participate. They'll pre-qualify for the final. The show will have a distinctly Ukrainian feel to it. I'm sure that's what's going to happen. The discussion is over, and that statement from the EBU was the end of the discussion.
Yes. There will be no other. I would completely agree with that. So now, of course, I'm not expecting answer from you, because I saw some of the questions already in the chat. Who is going to host? Or what is going to be the motto, the slogan? I think that is all a little bit premature. I know Edward Norton comes being thrown out there as an obvious choice, but I don't even need names from you guys right now because I think it's too mature. But do you have any feel what direction the BBC will go for? Will they go more with the established folks, Eurovision expert, or they're going to do something what we've seen often with other countries? We have out of left nowhere kind of hosts. Do you have any idea how the BBC would handle this?
So I think we'll get Graham. I think Graham will host the show, and they'll get someone else to do the commentary for that year, probably Scott Mills, since he does the semi-finals anyway.
I don't know. I think they might give him like a Terry Wogan role, where he's sort of like the fourth host. He just pops in every now and then, but he's in the commentary booth.
In any case,
come in and out and just be like, hey, look, it's me, Graham Norton, like that type of thing. So
it could be that. At the same time, I think there's a few others who I'd be very surprised if we didn't see involved. I think Rylan Clark is the perfect balance of known in the UK, likes and more importantly respects Eurovision, and has the right kind of persona for that kind of event. I think we'll also see a Ukrainian host or two. So I think whether it's Timur Moroshenko or someone else, we will see a Ukrainian host. But whoever it is, I'm not sure because I don't know too well what Ukrainian figures. It wouldn't surprise me if it was one of the three we had in 2017, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think I'm almost certain it will be a joint hosting job between Ukraine and the UK, and that makes perfect sense. And that's one of the stories. And some people asked in the chat earlier as well how much Ukraine will be involved. Ukraine, we don't know to what extent and how it's being done. Will be heavily featured in the show in the UK or whatever it may be. I go officially, but allegedly we're going to go to the UK, and it's not going to be political, of course, or they stay away from it as much as possible. But it will be more of a united front kind of situation, and that's I think will even be reflected in the slogan, like a low-key kind of like united through music or something like that. Oh, that would be a good one because it has the word united in it, and then ESC United, get it? But so something like that.
If the slogan is ESC United, what happens with us? What do we do?
We're gonna go.
We get a cease and desist letter. That's what happens with us.
Is it like? Do we have to get the lawyers?
I need to get the copyright things in right away. Yeah, no, that's funny. So yeah, something like that I can see happening. So that is going to be
just a couple more shouts from me. Sorry, just because like I know you're talking about the hosts and that. I think Mel Gedroich, I've seen a lot of people saying in the comments, can actually speak French as well, which is obviously still important in this day and age for Eurovision. I imagine Moncel Malo is probably ringing non-stop to the BBC press office and the Eurovision delegation. Please let me in.
I don't know if they're answering the call, but
but like I think he's another option just because it's like that sort of Eurovision connection. But I think Rylan, Graham Norton, Scott Mills, Sam Ryder, even potentially the way that he's sort of going in the media, because I think he'll have done a lot more TV in the time that next year rolls around. I have a feeling he could be involved. Maybe as like a green room host potentially.
There could be a host situation actually coming in, like to UK, to Brits, to Ukrainians, something of that extent. So we'll see. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I think Timo deserves a slot just because he's been there, done it.
Yeah.
Maybe even Ruslana. Why not? Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh gosh,
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? She seems very like even keeled. Anyway, so one more thing, we just want to go for some of the potential host cities. I know it's very early and we have about 89 in the running right now, but just and nothing has been official yet because the UK is still in negotiations with the EBU on all of this. But there is, and I said it in one of my videos, as soon as the EBU announced that it wasn't going to be in Ukraine, 30 seconds later, all these party leaders, all these local organizers tweeted it up, boom, 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 like almost seems as they knew, like let's just be ready for it. And as soon as that's when we're gonna hit send. So, but the point is, a lot of different cities have already voiced their interest in hosting. Let's go for them just real quick. And I know not all of them are viable, and I think that you will have extra insight now that you know these places and have done a lot of research on it. So let's go for them.
Weird for us. It's very weird for us to go through these.
No, isn't it? It's like I know we'll talk about that, but we'll go through the list here alphabetically. I know there was one or two that dropped after we put this list together, so Sean, feel free to interrupt. The first one on the list is Aberdeen, population 220,000 people in Scotland. It would be the most northern city. It's currently bidding. I'm not sure if there's anything bigger, like big up there that could go further up north. They have a venue, the P&J Live. Is that peanut butter and jelly? That's at least what we think in the US. 15,000 spectators fit in there. Either one of you, Sean or Gabe, do you think this is a contender, or is just more like let's just give it a shot, or this is really just an outside chance?
In a word, nah. Great city.
I've not been to Aberdeen, so I can't really comment too much about there, unfortunately. So whether Gabe has, I don't know.
It's too far north. There won't be enough hotel rooms. It's a small city, and it's not concentrated. It wouldn't provide that kind of Eurovision village feel that you're looking for. So I'm.
Do they have an airport? That was one of my questions. Is there even an airport nearby that is somewhat international?
Small airport. There is a small airport, but it's the big airports in Scotland are in Glasgow and in Edinburgh. Yeah, you've got it's just I just don't think it's a big enough city. I don't think it can sustain it. It doesn't really have many international flights and it doesn't have much capacity.
It's just too far away from any BBC centres as well. They've got Glasgow, Manchester, London, I think, are their main centres. So I think the venue is the biggest as far as I'm aware in Scotland. So that might be the angle they're trying to go for, is that they've got more spectators than say Glasgow or Edinburgh. But I think it's just kind of one of them that will throw the name in, and then when they actually get the details of what a bid entails, they'll realise they can't do it.
So at this point, based on if you have to categorize it, would you put it as unlikely or impossible?
Very unlikely. Nothing's impossible. Nothing is impossible, but it's very unlikely.
Very unlikely.
You are impossible, Sean. So the next city on the list is Belfast, and that's I think the only city in Northern Ireland currently putting their name there in the hat. They actually is a pretty big city, 340,000 people. I know for a lot of UK compared to other cities, not really, but looking at some of the other host cities that we've seen throughout the continent, it's not that small. But if you look at the whole urban area, we're talking about $671,000 people, and they have an arena called the SSE Arena, and it holds just over about 10,800 people, as being the largest city in Northern Ireland. It makes sense. We've never been to Northern Ireland for Eurovision. We've been to Scotland. We've been to the UK. So what are your thoughts? Is that an option? Is that another far reach? Gabe?
I personally don't think Belfast is at all likely, on the basis that the BBC, much like pretty much every other British institution, has an inbuilt bias against Northern Ireland. I think in terms of domestic interest and getting people to the contest, Northern Ireland has a population of a few million. If you host it in a city, in pretty much any major mainland UK city, you've got millions more people with the potential to reach. So Northern Ireland, gorgeous scenery, slightly troubled, maybe it's symbolic in that there's a troubled past where it was eventually resolved, but I just cannot see the BBC hosting Eurovision there. So for me, unfortunately, this one is an impossible.
Impossible. Yeah, to me, I mean, I put it, I think I tweeted about it. I put it as one of my favorites to go to, but it was 100% selfish because I've been dreaming to go to Northern Ireland. So that would be like, perfect. But from what I've heard afterwards and people pointing out, it makes perfect sense. It's just, and Alicia Woodhead also said in the chat, Northern Ireland, too hard to get to and not enough hotel space. That's very important. If you don't have enough accommodation you need thousands and thousands of hotel rooms. And we don't know if this city is set up for that. Yeah. Sean, real quick, also impossible for you, unlikely. Where do you fall?
Yeah, again, nothing's impossible, but it's very, very unlikely. I think it's just too much of a bone of contention potentially. Politically as well.
Oh, that too.
Because I mean, people are familiar with obviously the whole idea behind Northern Ireland. If we were to really host a contest that's meant to be celebrating Ukraine, it's a little bit close to the bone to host it in Belfast, I think, because there could be arguments that we're doing the same thing there, depending on what side of the coin you fall, obviously. So I don't think the BBC is stupid enough to open themselves up to that sort of own goal, I guess. But I'm sure that there's no doubts for Belfast as a city. I can't see it because of the reasons you've mentioned, and it just seems too much of a riskier, not riskier, but I don't think they'll go for it. The BBC, I just can't see that broadcaster going for that city.
Got it. Next one on the list, and that's a big one. Birmingham, second biggest city in the UK. If you look at the urban area, we're approaching 3 million people. The city itself over 1 million as well. Interestingly enough, they are the last city to host the contest in the UK back in 1998 when Dana International won. And that's also the first contest I saw. I was really young, and I remember that's how I fell in love with the contest, 1998. Holy smokes. But anyway, so you can make a case, that this would actually work against them, that even though, it's been a quarter of a century basically since we've been there, so enough time has passed, but I do think actually that could still be kind of like, well, we went there last time, we need to go somewhere else. So personally, just a hunch of mine tells me it's probably not the place to go to. What was the arena that they have there that may be suitable?
They've got two big ones.
It's called the Utilita now, but it used to be called the NIA, National Indoor Arena, and I think that's still how I kind of know it as. But it's still there. That's the venue they'd probably still go for as well. So it'd be the same venue as 1998.
Okay,
like you said, I can't see, after all this time, I can't see them going back to the same city that they were in last time, unfortunately.
Same for you?
Yeah, as good as Birmingham is in terms of infrastructure and everything like that, hosting big events, I don't see it.
This did make my list of 6 cities which I think have a realistic chance, but it was the least likely of the 6 for that reason. Going back to the same city again, I think is unlikely. I think they'll want to go somewhere. I think they may want to go somewhere new, completely new, where the contest has never been hosted.
Yeah. Okay, no, that makes sense. I think we're all on the same page here, and I look at all being wrong in a couple of months. But next up on the list, Brighton, population of 290,000 and an urban 474,000. They have also hosted a contest before, but it's been a minute. 1974, right? When ABBA won the contest. So I think enough time has passed for it to be still, from that perspective, not being a hindrance. They have an arena that is too small, though, I believe. So do they even have a shot in any shape or form? They put their name in the hat. Did they do it prematurely because they just wanted to do it? And certainly the contest was slightly different in 1974. Is that what's going on, Gabe?
Yeah, no chance. No arena, no luck, I'm afraid. And that is as simple as that. Doesn't matter about anything else.
Same for you.
It was more symbolic. I think, the Brighton Dome was big enough for Eurovision in the 70s, but it's not big enough for it now. It's the same venue. as in 1974 that I think they're putting forward. It's a couple thousand. It's really not big enough. But I think, you know, Brighton symbolically is probably the largest LGBTQ plus community in the UK. Very nice location, lovely weather, beaches. You know, probably not what people expect from the UK. So it'd be nice from a very, very selfish. If you're going to get
beaches, nevertheless.
Yeah, it could. If you're going to get nice weather in the UK in May, your best chances probably are in Brighton or somewhere like that.
Well, it's not going to happen. So yeah,
No,
but
an
it's
argument for
likely.
not true. But
yeah,
yeah. Plan a couple of days before or after Eurovision to go there.
Yeah.
That's for later. You'll see. Anyway, go on.
Next one on the list, and we're going to a different country now. Wales, Cardiff. I'm very curious to hear about you guys because, again, to me, I've never been to Wales. I'm all about, I want to go somewhere else, you know, like something different. And it's a big city enough, 369,000, I want to say dollars, people. And the venue here, I'm trying to find it. It's pretty big, right? What do you guys think about this Cardiff, Sean?
Massive. Absolutely huge. There's two, well, okay.
Too big, probably, huh?
There's two venues in Cardiff that could potentially do it. I'll talk about the realistic one first, which is the Cardiff Indoor Arena, I think it's called, which is about 7,500 people. Might be slightly too small. Obviously, Eurovision has never been hosted in Wales. I've never been to Cardiff, unfortunately, surprisingly. So I wouldn't mind going, certainly not. I think it's a kind of dark horse choice for that very reason. The other arena is the Principality Stadium, which is a 70,000-seater rugby arena with a roof, a retractable roof. It's hosted the Champions League final. It's hosted massive concerts, events. Is the roof load-bearing enough for all of the equipment? Is it the acoustics in the venue? Are they going to be strong enough? Is it just too bloody big? It would be lovely to see a massive, massive Eurovision. I just don't think it's going to work.
I think it's maybe too big. I mean, like even in Germany, which was one of the biggest ones, was like 30,000. I'm trying to remember.
Dusseldorf or Lisbon levels is about the absolute maximum which you can.
Lisbon?
20. Lisbon was about 20,000 people.
It was big in there.
Was it that big? I don't remember.
Yeah,
that big.
Lisbon was Lisbon.
Aku was really big too, though.
Yeah. But I think that's about as big as you can go without, you know, you imagine putting 6 people on stage in front of 70,000 people and try and capture that atmosphere. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. So you say in terms of for you, Sean, is it more like a maybe still Cardiff? Not unlikely, but
I think
maybe.
It's a dark horse because I do think because it's never been in Wales, because, you know, Cardiff is, from what I'm led to believe, a very nice city to go to and visit. It's very touristy, and it's quite close to the English border, so there is still that sort of accessibility.
Yeah, and real quick, the comment here that Beth put on in 2014, the BBC said, sorry, Gabe, said that if they were to win again, they would go to Cardiff. Yes, the stadium hosts 70,000, but they have a special curtain to cut the size of the stadium down to much less. That takes me to you, Gabe. Even looking at that comment and what you have observed in is this a contender for you, or where does it fall?
So the Principality Stadium isn't. I think even if they do drop the capacity down, it still isn't a contender. I think there's a more interesting thing at play here, which is we can't just consider arenas that exist. We should also consider arenas that have been granted planning permission to be built but are not complete yet. There's only 2 of those. I'll get onto the other one later. But the first one is the Bay Arena in Cardiff. The problem is that it's currently forecast to be finished in 2025. That's a big rush to get it done in time. In my opinion, that's the only viable arena. If they can present a plan which says, if this is funded properly, we can have this done in March next year, then sure. But for me, that's the only way it happens in Cardiff. Again, it's made my 6. But I have it as the 5th most likely of those 6.
So we're slowly working our way down there. We got to go for the other ones a little quicker because, you know, we're already spending a lot of time on this. So just in quick thoughts, I'm going to ask you guys next. Actually, before I go to the next one, Sean, you threw out there was another one. Yeah, and I will not pronounce it the wrong way. I was always, as an American, I want to say Edinburgh, but I've been educated. It's Edinburgh. That's how I remember it. So, Sean, what do you have on that one?
sort of late arrival into it because I did finished this article this afternoon, and then noticed that Edinburgh had also put in a bid. A previous host city for Eurovision, I think 1972. I could be wrong, but obviously the only time I think Scotland's hosted the contest previously. I'm led to believe that there's an arena that's about 10, 11,000. I've not looked massively into Edinburgh's bid, unfortunately. But beautiful city, absolutely gorgeous city. Very continental European in its feel and very walkable. Has a lot of hotel space, good connections, international airport. I think there's a lot of things going for Edinburgh. I just feel like if it's going to go to anywhere in Scotland, it's probably not going to be in Edinburgh or Aberdeen. Can't speak. Edinburgh or Aberdeen.
Yeah.
So kind of, I'm not going to say just yet because we've not spoken about the other city, but you kind of know where I'm going with that. But
Yeah. So
I don't think it's a bad choice.
Yeah, Gabe, real quick, do you think that Edinburgh is in your contender list at this point? Or not?
It would be. It's not in my choices of 6, and I think that's because I looked at the arenas, and the arena is a bit too small. I think the arena takes 9,800 or something.
Right.
So it's a no.
Being told in the comments Edinburgh doesn't have an arena, so I don't know what they've got now. I could have been looking at the wrong thing.
Okay.
Conference centre, apparently, someone's saying in the
We'll
comments.
find out. I was sick and tired of everything when I called you last night from Glasgow. That's the next city. You know what I'm quoting here, right? I was sick and tired of everything when ABBA, of course, sang about Glasgow, Scotland. It's apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't checked today, but as of yesterday, the booking favorites to actually be the host city, even before we actually had this official statement from the EBU that Ukraine wouldn't host it, people already said, well, Glasgow already has some time put aside to for the arena that's potentially in the running, which is the OVO Hydro Arena, I believe, right? So, Sean, you put a great article together. And first of all, Glasgow, it's the biggest city in Scotland, 635,000 people. And if you look the whole urban area, we're talking over 1 million. So certainly, do they have everything that they need to host it, or where are we at, Sean?
Absolutely. I can see why this is one of the front runners. I mean, they hosted the climate change conference. Was it last year? I think. So they had they've got experience of having large delegations from all over the world coming to the city. The arena is very familiar if you've seen the Eurovision movie, because it's that arena that they use, the OVO Hydro. But it's not in Edinburgh; it's in Glasgow. And I've been to where it is. It's perfect setup for Eurovision because you've got the arena, you've got a conference centre here, you've got another building here which could be your press centre. Either of those could work. It's along the banks of the River Clyde. I've seen people saying that it could be where the red carpet is held as well. It literally in front of the arena on the river, and across the river, literally just across the river, is BBC Scotland. So everything is there in one place. It's not too far from the city centre. There's a lot to see and do in Glasgow. Very well connected. A lot of hotel space.
They have an international airport, so it would be at least reasonable to get to. Certainly not more difficult than Turin.
People can fly into Edinburgh and get the bus across. They're really not that far apart, even.
How long is the bus ride? I did that with Milan, and that was not a good idea.
It's about an hour, I think. So yeah,
it'll be cooler than it is in Milan and Turin. I can promise you that.
Yeah. Speaking of Gabe, did it make it your list? Tell us.
Yes, this was the number one most likely for me, is Glasgow. Same reason that Sean said. Everything's in one place. Everything's ready. They could host it in a month in Glasgow. It's a brilliant city. I've been to conferences actually at that very centre before. It's accessible. The centre of the city is, vibrant. There's loads going on. It's a brilliant place. It's a brilliant city. It would be a fantastic host city as well. So I think it is by far the most likely at this stage. It remains to be seen what other bids emerge, and it may be that it goes a different way. But right now, if I had to put money anywhere, it would be here.
It would be here. So both Sean and Gabe agree with the current front runner, the logical.
The only thing I do want to say, just from another point of view, literally a couple of days ago, the Scottish government started outlining plans to go for independence again. So that's the only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about now, is the You know, this is the problem with the UK, is that there's always going to be this kind of aspect. People are sort of resentful if it's held in England, and then there's obviously other issues that transpire wherever else you go. It's just our beautiful, weird country.
It's like a beautiful mess.
Yeah, our happy little family over here on this rock in the Irish Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. But
yes, I don't understand this. We in the US, we're all just getting along just fine. So this is a very foreign concept for me on your end there. Why are you laughing?
Okay.
No, so another another city on the list, Leeds. And I was shocked to see, and that it comes my American ignorance, but I know of Leeds, of course, but I didn't realize how big it is. 800,000 people almost. That's a big ass city. And they have an arena called the First Direct Arena, 13,700 capacity. And I'm going to go to you first this time, Gabe. What do you think the odds are that we're going to end up there?
Hi, this was my third favorite. I think Leeds has a lot of benefits. Firstly, it's really well connected, not just to Leeds Bradford Airport, which is its local airport, which is a bit of a shithole, to be honest, but also to Manchester Airport as well. It's very easy to get to Leeds from Manchester Airport. And there's a number of other airports across that sort of area of the Midlands.
There's the massive Sheffield Doncaster Airport as well, of course, which is basically an air hangar.
Yeah. It's a big shed, so maybe they'll bid to host it in there. But it's a really good city, really well connected. Again, loads going on. It's used to hosting big events. It has everything that you'd really need. The only thing I would possibly say is the arena. It's on the smaller side of the potential options. But I think, and the other thing which could hold Leeds back is it has no secondary means of public transport. It only has buses, which means no mass transit whatsoever in terms of trains, trams, any of that, which Glasgow has.
Turin.
Yeah, Glasgow has that. Manchester has that. London has that. Some other cities, which we'll talk about, have that. Leeds doesn't. So that could be a big drawback that makes them they could stumble over, because there's only so many people you can cram into a bus.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. All right. So another great option then, Leeds, a contender. What's in the betting odds? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I'm going to get them up.
That's okay if you don't know. I was just curious. Yeah. Liverpool.
I know who the top two are. I don't know about the rest.
Okay. So Liverpool also, someone put their name in the hat. City of 500,000 people. And then, of course, the urban area even more. And the arena I just had here, I lost. You guys, you have so much more prepared
M&S
about
Bank
this.
Arena.
What?
M&S Bank Arena. I'm going to wax lyrical a little bit about Liverpool because my entire family are from Liverpool. I'm going to be a little bit biased and say that this would be my choice, but not purely because of selfish reasons. But I think that Liverpool is an amazing city, one of my favourites in the UK to go and visit. It's had a real regeneration in the past 10, 12, 15 years since the European Capital of Culture in 2008. The arena is sort of set it's like two buildings. So one side is an 11,000, 12,000 seater arena. The other side is like a conference centre. There's another conference centre and there's other buildings there. Everything I think you need is going to be there, like Glasgow as well. So you've got the arena, press centre, broadcast centre, everything you might need there. It's on the banks of the River Mersey. The skyline and the main touristy area of Liverpool is right next to it as well. Okay. City centre's there, well connected, easy to get around, walkable city, hotel space. Home of the Beatles, musical. There's not many more musical cities in the UK than Liverpool, and there's my sales pitch for it. But I think this is a real dark horse. There's a lot of Liverpudlian fans of Eurovision that I know as well, and I believe there's also a very big Ukrainian community in Liverpool, which also may help to sway a little bit. But
that is true. That's a good point.
I think this is a strong bid potentially.
Real quick, Gabe, is it on your list? What are your thoughts?
It is on my list now because I realized I was an idiot for not having it on my list, because I listened to what Sean said and I was like, well, this is a really strong choice. Yes, Liverpool, I think, is one of the most likely based off what Sean has just said. I don't know how I undervalued it before. The only potential weakness being the slightly smaller arena, but 11,000 is still fine. And with the conference centre right there, it is a really good location. It's right in the centre of the city.
There's like a full complex there of everything. They have like big conventions, like Comic-Con type conventions are held literally next door. So there's plenty of space there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's interesting. We keep an eye out on Liverpool. Then next up is a small village called London that also put a bid forward with 10 million people. It's I mean, I live in LA, so I know the feeling of having a lot of people around you. I think London, and somebody said it in the chat just a minute ago, they're number 2 at 14% in the betting odds. Is that, you guys think, the right decision? I'm just going to, before I actually ask you, I'm just giving my thoughts, because I've seen in the past that large cities, kind of like London, Rome, are actually almost like a disadvantage just because of the sheer size, logistically, hotel-wise, traveling, and price-wise, it's just a very, very difficult process. So my thinking is, this may not be, I'm surprised to see it at number 2, but maybe just because it is London, that it just by default has a much better chance. So I got to go to you, Gabe, on this one. Where does London fall based on your prediction or estimate?
It ain't happening. Stop.
You agree with me?
Stop trying to make London happen. It's not going to happen. It's firstly got bookings in May, expensive bookings in May that would cost a lot of money to move. Måneskin, exactly. The only alternative venue which meets the size requirement in London is the side venue at Wembley, which was built in 1930. It's falling to bits, so it's not suitable. I live in London. I love London. It's an incredible city and everyone should visit it. But you need, again, it's about this Eurovision, this little bubble kind of amazing feeling that we get. You can't build that in a city this big. You just can't. There's just too much of it. So what I would say to everyone is, next year when you come to the UK, wherever we are, stay an extra week and go to London. But there's no way we're hosting it here. Yeah. So get that idea out of your heads right now.
Sean, is Gabe wrong? And if yes, why?
No, I think nothing's impossible, but this London surprisingly comes almost as close to impossible as you could probably get in the UK. There's been a real effort from the BBC in particular and the UK government, because go back 10, 20 years, everything that ever went through the United Kingdom happened in London. Every big event, every bit of funding pretty much all went to London, and the rest of the UK was just sort of made to sit and wait for any of the scraps that come by. So there's been a real effort over the past couple of decades from the government and the BBC and all organisations to diversify and move funding and events and infrastructure around the UK. The BBC have moved a lot of their operations from London to a city we're coming to in a second, because we know where, but I'm not going to say it yet for the purposes of this video. But yeah, I just like Gabe said, it's massive. London is crumbling under its own weight from how big it is. Basically, like, it's just a colossus of a city. If you book an Airbnb in the wrong place, you're screwed, basically, if it is hosted in London. So it's got all of the infrastructure. It's got some really impressive venues. It is definitely worth a visit if you're in the UK. Why wouldn't you? But I just think from the way that things are going with the BBC trying to move things around the country, I just can't see a world where London gets given this, because there'll be an outcry in the media in the UK. I can guarantee you if it happens.
Yeah.
Just a quick side note. The person in chat who keeps saying Coventry, the arena that you keep mentioning, I looked it up. It's a football stadium. It's open air. Yeah. Can't host it. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't do it open air. You need to have a roof. So
that's you for trying, though. I mean, Coventry might put a bid in. You never know.
Yeah, and then withdraw quickly shortly after. We got to go through that ones really fast. I apologize. So just real quick thoughts from both of you. Manchester, obviously not a surprise that they're on the list. It's the 3rd biggest city, I think, in the UK. Over 500,000 people there. And then if you look at the urban area, it's gigantic. There is an arena, 21,000 spectators can fit into it, the AO Arena. Looking at that, but there are other logistics. Sean, is there any possibility we go into Manchester?
It's the 2nd biggest indoor arena in Europe behind Antwerp, from what I gather. And they're building an even bigger one next to the Manchester City Stadium. Manchester was, I mean, we said this when it looked like the UK might have been potentially doing well. We were looking, oh, well, if we do host it in this weird world that we find ourselves in, where are we going to go? And we were saying, well, it's going to be in Manchester. The UK's points are announced from Salford, which is in Greater Manchester. The BBC's base is there. I believe the Eurovision team are based in Manchester now. There's an international sort of touristy kind of drive to go to Manchester. It's a very musical city. In terms of, I think, Brits wanting to go to Eurovision, this is the best choice because this is the most likely option to give you the tickets that, let's be honest, with the British Eurovision fans, you know, could probably sell out any of the arenas that are given just on the road.
I think there will be a problem
international
selling
audiences.
tickets in the UK to begin with, so we don't have to worry about that.
I think you do have to go to a sort of, you know, Lisbon level of arena. And I think as big as the sprawl of Greater Manchester is, the actual city itself is quite compact and walkable, and there is mass transit and things like that. So I think there's a lot going for Manchester.
And they have a massive airport, so that is a big advantage as well.
It's and very well connected to a lot of other cities in the UK nearby as well. It's very easy to get to if you're anywhere in the Midlands or the North.
Is it on your list, Gabe?
Yeah, it was my number 2 along with Glasgow. Everything else, because I know we're trying to speed through these, I agree with everything Sean said. He said everything that needed to be said. It's a great city. It would be a great host. Yeah.
Next up city is that one I know it existed, but, you know, interesting to see it in the running. Sheffield, 640,000 people. They have arena of 13,600 spectators. The Utilita Arena.
Utilita Arena.
Okay, arena.
All these names, by the way, are just like sponsorship because they're all called Manchester Arena, Sheffield Arena, Glasgow Arena. Like, you know, they've all got very basic names, so they have to differentiate by, you know, sponsorship. So there we are.
Real quick, Gabe, what are the odds we're going to Sheffield?
I've been to this arena. I've got drunk in this arena on multiple occasions, and it ain't happening. Sorry. The sizes of it and the way those seats are spread are wrong. It's in a difficult location, very far from the city centre, a good 25 to 30 minutes on the tram out of the city centre. It will be difficult to access it. In addition, it doesn't have enough free space around it to build the temporary structure you'd need for the press centre. The only public transport access is a single tram that runs at 10-minute intervals. It's a great arena for a lot of things. This isn't one of them. I don't think this is a goer. It's not on my list.
All right. So unlikely is, I would assume, based on what I'm looking at right now, just the size of the city. Sunderland, 174,000 population. They threw their name in there as well. Nope. Sean, what are the odds?
Sunderland as a bid is already dead in the water, I think, because basically there's a local council that have gone, hey, we want this thing. Wouldn't it be great to bring it to Sunderland? I will concede I've never been to Sunderland, so I can't vouch for the city, but I know their bid is based on the Stadium of Light, which is a football stadium for Sunderland AFC. Admittedly, it holds 49,000 and could hold up to 60,000 for concerts, but I don't think it's got a roof.
It does not.
Well, then we're done talking about this, actually. The conversation is over.
It gets as far as this video, and that's it, I think, and it's almost the same for the next city as well.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give that one to you as well because I know Gabe has another city that he wants to throw in that we haven't mentioned yet, I believe. So the last one on our list here, I believe, as of right now, is Wolverhampton. 249. Why are you laughing? I did say it wrong again.
Wolverhampton. No, it's not that we're laughing at.
Okay.
We're just laughing at the fact that Wolverhampton are in this list. That's all.
Yeah, I didn't even. If you've heard of that city before. It's 249,000 people. And Sean, what's the situation?
It's another football stadium, but it's one that hasn't even got the sides filled in, so there's no chance there. I think the other one.
They're not going to pull a Baku. Like
there is another. There's another venue, but I think it's like at most 5,000 people. I don't think it's big enough. It's just fair play to them. All these councils are going to try and put bids in as well. I'm going to shout out Derby as well because I'm sure Derby's going to probably put a bid in at some point, but that also isn't happening. I think, this is one to try and get a little bit of touristy, tourist boost from even just being in the bidding process, but it's not happening. I don't think it's happening.
Yeah. And then Gabe, that was our list, but you said there's another proposal that you would like to put forward.
So this one, and there has been a couple of councillors have tweeted about this, but there's one big omission from this list, and even without my, incessant shilling of this city, when I was brainstorming my list, objectively, I put as the fourth most likely option, and that is Newcastle. So the official population is 300,000. The reality of it is actually there's the entire Tyneside metropolitan area, which is part of, is closer to 700,000. It meets all the requirements. It's got the international airport. It's got the hotels. It's very well connected by train as well. It has a secondary transport system, but the beauty of it is because the center of the city is very compact, you could have everything within walking distance. Now, this is where it gets interesting. There are two options for an arena here. Firstly is the Utilita Arena in Newcastle, which meets the requirements, 11,400 capacity. The only issue is it is a bit of a shed. I mean, it's fine, don't get me wrong, and inside it's fine, plenty of space. They've got an enormous car park that you could easily build a temporary structure on for the press center. The more interesting option is the Newcastle Gateshead Keys Arena, which is currently being built, is forecast at the moment to be finished in January 2024. In a recent round of so-called levelling up funding, they submitted a proposal which would bring forward that opening date to 2023. Early 2023.
Early 2023, yeah, that's a good, important point.
So it has the planning permission. Everything is ready to go. If a bit of funding appears, then that new arena could be completed in 10 months. And we could could hold Eurovision. Be ready in time for rehearsals.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
So what I think it is, when the time comes to actual bids, I think Newcastle will absolutely put in a bid. I think what will come with it is a dual arena bid where we will host it. This is our aspiration, and we will know imminently if we have the funding for this. If not, we have this equally suitable arena, which already exists. Everything is walkable. There's tons of hotels. It's an amazing city. I am from there. So you can all stay in my mum's house, my mum and dad's house.
Wow, big house.
All right. Well, that's then we have that one on the list as well. Before we summarize this, there is a thing that just lost here. So how soon do you think the EBU will confirm the UK as host? Do you think we can expect something as soon as this week? Well, this is more like a two-parter. Two-part question.
Good job this isn't live.
I know, right? Two-part question, because when they're going to announce the UK as the host, and when will they decide on the host city? So both of them, the TBD. I think the UK's involvement will probably be announced. I mean, it's just a loose guess on my end. I think in the next month. That would be as I will say. Do you guys think that's reasonable, or what do you think?
Sooner?
What do you think, Sean?
I do think they might humour Ukraine and their team, and might just go back and say, "What have you got for us?" Before they confirm anything, they might just go back and say, "You wanted more discussions. Let's talk about this, and let's see what you can sort of guarantee us." I think they will. Maybe humour them sound of like a harsh phrase for it, but I think they will go back to them and listen to what they have to say. Give them one final chance to put their case forward. I don't think it's going to get much further than that. I do feel like within the next couple of weeks, even, I think they can say the BBC's hosting this. You can formally open a bidding process, because this is all councillors in that tweet, and there's no one's put in a bid. Obviously, no one's had time to.
Nothing official. They haven't anything official out yet, because BBC
nothing really official. I do expect a lot of these cities named today, and possibly a couple of others to actually submit bids. I do think BBC will be confirmed as the host within the next few weeks, possibly, so that they can get to planning, because they need to sort out dates, etc. For arenas. I do think when it comes to crunch time, it's Manchester versus Glasgow.
Yeah, that we're going to talk about in a second. When do you guys think the host city will be announced? Because I know that Italy they delayed and delayed. We got in late November with them? I'm trying to remember when it was. Yeah. Do you think, especially with the whole delayed process right now, that's a reasonable timeline we're looking here for the UK as well? When do you guys think we'll have the actual host city, Gabe?
I think they should do it sooner. I think we might know it as soon as early to mid-August. I think
that early.
it's one of the lessons from last year is they needed more time. And I think the EBU will be bearing that in mind and try to get something in slightly earlier. You can do a bidding process in a month. So if you start the bidding process in a fortnight, you can finish it at the beginning of July, beginning of August, and announce then, in my opinion.
Do you think that's going to be that early, Sean?
I can see a world where it's that early. I don't think if things will probably move quickly, but I don't know if they'll move that quickly. Because I think they have to get the funding together. They have to visit these cities. They have to explore every avenue of how many hotels have you got? What kind of accommodation? What kind of transport have you got? Where's your nearest airport? How are you going to get people from the airport to the city? Where's your fan park going to be? Your Eurovision village, carpet, all that. The EBU still have to send all of the documents over to the BBC so that they have everything covered. Because
the EBU got to agree as well. It's not just the BBC says it; the EBU also has to sign off.
They have to go out and visit. Obviously, there's a lot of. I mean, the BBC's not hosted a modern Eurovision, so this is still going to be new for the BBC. The semi-final stage is new for the BBC. So there's a lot of things that happened in Birmingham in 1998 that are completely irrelevant now. So I think they've got a lot to probably iron out between that. I mean, they're not daft. They go to Eurovision every year. They know kind of what goes on, but it's a different story being a visitor.
Very different story, yes.
Actually organising the thing. So,
I'm also going to open up because
September latest. Probably September latest.
September latest. Okay, we'll see. I hope you're right, because I'd love to hear that. It was too long for Italy. Now, everyone, ask your questions at ESC United in the chat. Can be about the host cities, can be about anything Eurovision. I want to make sure I have a few minutes for the open Q&A. And while the questions are coming in, remember at ESC United, Sean and Gabe, to wrap this one up. From what I'm hearing that you're saying, according to your expertise, so we're talking about Glasgow, Manchester, and Leeds being the lead candidates right now. Is that what, or Liverpool, I meant? Or which one is that the top three, according to you, again? Or who do you think are the top three cities, real quick?
Would you want to go, Gabe? Because you've got your 6-point plan all ready to go, your PowerPoint presentation.
Just really fast. You don't have to go into details. Just give me the three.
Glasgow, Manchester, Leeds were my top three.
Also, what I said. And how about you, Sean?
I go Glasgow, Manchester, Liverpool.
Liverpool. So,
do you want me to say who I think will get it?
Sure.
I think it will be Manchester in the end.
It will not be Glasgow?
I just have a hunch it's Manchester. I really feel like I just look at like a lot of what the BBC are doing, and they do push for Manchester in a lot of things, and it's got the biggest arena by far. I think it's going to end up being Manchester.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at some of the questions here that are coming in. Alicia is saying, I think the postcard should feature Ukrainian refugees living in the UK meeting the artist from subject country and then linking them to their hometown in Ukraine. It is a beautiful idea. The question is, will people then call this political? Because, then you bring in the crisis that is happening in Russia. Me personally, I find it always a cheap cop-out to saying, well, we cannot talk about refugees because it's politics, when it's clearly more of a humanitarian crisis more than anything, because then everything is political. So I don't dislike the idea at all. The question is if this would be approved. What do you think, Gabe?
So I think it's going to be... I think it's a nice idea. I don't think we should particularly worry about it. You can't make what is going on not political. Everything about it is.
They didn't mention anything about this one for the most part, this Eurovision,
but this
you wouldn't even know.
The very fact that it's going to be in the UK this year already makes it political, because there's a reason.
True.
So I think we should be. I think what it should do. I think it would be really nice, actually, to have something that incorporates, Ukraine. It could be that because with Belarus and Russia not in the mix, this will work. That for each country, it's like the story of a Ukrainian refugee in their country. But it's but I think you have to recognize it somehow. You have to give it a distinctly Ukrainian feel. And the postcards is one way of doing that.
There is a really good question that is short but to the point. What flag should be in the heart logo? So, assuming UK will host, because usually it's the hosting / winning country that is being put in there. We will have two different countries, a Ukraine and a UK flag. Should there be some sort of merging of these two flags happening? What do you think, Sean? They need to be a little bit more creative, or I should just give it to
I saw an edit the other day, and it was the Ukrainian flag, but with the white crosses of the UK overlaid onto it, and it looked brilliant. And I think that would be a great way of doing it. I've seen a lot of people saying it should just be the Ukrainian flag. Call me biased if you want. I don't agree with that, just because if the UK is stumping up all this money to host this thing, the least we can have is a little bit of our flag in the logo, surely. You know, we have to recognise who's won, but who's hosting as well. And previous years, you know, back in like 1980, it's not like they designed a logo that was for the winning country. It was for whoever was hosting. I know we didn't have like a logo every year the same back then. But I think you have to reflect the host country as well as the winner. Whether they go for just the UK flag, but then maybe the logo and the theme is all blue and yellow, I don't know. There's various ways they could probably represent this, but I think with the BBC and with the whole situation at the moment, there's no doubt in my mind that we'll do a lot towards showcasing Ukraine and Ukrainian culture in the show. I'm pretty sure of that.
I think
I don't think the EBU would even let it be any other way. So there'll be.
It would be weird also to see it. And by the way, any other questions at ESC United in the chat that we can answer it? It would be also kind of when it says Manchester 23 and then has Ukrainian flag. It's very confusing for like the average person to understand what is going on. So I think it should be certainly the UK, but some kind of shout out to Ukraine somehow. So having them merged to a certain extent would make perfect sense to me. What do you think, Gabe?
To be honest, I don't really care about the little flag in the heart. I think that's like, there's a lot of things on my list before we get there. To be honest.
I think branding's important, though. I think it does come into the equation, especially when, like, you look at with this event in the UK. You know, this is going to be a money-making opportunity almost, and a tourist thing. So there's going to be, you know, billboards and livery or whatever in the host city and around the UK saying, "Look, Eurovision's in the UK." So I think it's going to be a bit weird in that aspect. But yeah, Gabe's right. It's not the biggest thing in the world to really concern about. So
yeah, no, and that is true. Alicia's asking, will the BBC internally select, or will they use the selection show to maximize the interest in 23? I'll hand it back to you guys. The only thing I know, correct me if I'm wrong, is that Sam Ryder wants to somehow not involve per se, but provide his expertise. I read about it. What do you know as of right now in terms of if the UK is going to stick to what worked this year, which flopped many other years, of course, to be fair, or will they take a chance at a national final?
Well, Gabe. I think with TAP, it was the thing that has helped was changing from BMG, who just sort of threw James Newman at it without really caring, to TAP. And TAP clearly had a much better handle on what was required. Let's remember that for Sam, it wasn't just the song and the staging. He was all over Europe. He was getting radio play. They were using their connections to promote the song and the artist. That was something that made a big difference, in my opinion. So I think they're going to stick with exactly the same process. The UK public have never been particularly interested in a national selection. People just don't care enough. And artists especially are not willing to put themselves in a position where they could lose without even getting to Eurovision, because that is embarrassing for an established artist in this country. At least that is what it is perceived as. So yeah, it's going to stay exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, I'm worried because I'm always, of course, like it was a broken clock right once kind of thing, or twice a day. And this time it was the first time your broken clock was right. Or is the BBC onto something? Like they're kind of like in this pretty place that the Netherlands found themselves in starting 2013. That is what we're all hoping. But how do you feel about this current situation, Sean? Are you more confident, or are you also more worried this was more like a hiccup almost?
I'm just going to put it very simply. Do not ask the British public to vote on anything, because it goes horrifically wrong every time. It's as simple
Really?
as that. Stick with the leave it in the hands of the people that clearly know what. Well, I'd like to think know what they're doing from this year. They've been given the reins 1 year and they've got 466 points from it. Give them, can't take that away from them now. Give them their opportunity. And if we're the host, might fly in the face of what they did last year. I could see a little bit of a higher caliber of fame from the artist. I think you could end up seeing someone who might be a little bit more relevant than who we've sent in the last few years. I'd love to see that. Whether they'll take the risk anyway, I don't know. But I think there has been a real sea change of how Eurovision's viewed in this country. And I think next year it's got to be carried on. And the way to do that is not at the moment a national final. 10 years' time, if we carry on
10
doing
years,
well,
wow.
people,
Let's talk in 3 or
10
4 years.
in 10 years' time, if we know what we're doing with Eurovision and we end up sticking around the same place every year, if we're towards the top every year and people know what to vote for and we get given the right caliber of songs, then let the public decide.
Okay, so now the BBC will have one next year now.
Right
Based on
now,
what you're saying,
yeah,
probably because
right now, leave it to TAP. Let them do it.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Probably too early to really know, but oops, that was the wrong one. Sometimes this thing moves too
No, he
fast.
won't do it, by the way.
What is the interval act be like? Can you see someone that is a high potential of being like, that should be an interval act? Is this the place you could see some featured high profile artists? Because we all know they wouldn't take part as a contestant. You would never see an Adele or an Elton John take part. Could you see some bigger names actually performing on stage? Because I think that would be now a perfect platform for them. So I could see that actually happening. And it's a few times where it would make sense rather than having Madonna or Justin Timberlake perform in Sweden or Israel. So here it would make sense if you have an artist like that out there. So I think this would be a great time. It would bring probably a lot of interest and excitement and exposure to the contest. So, and it's British. Do you think, Gabe, that would be reasonable, or would you rather have something more like the new Riverdance of 23? Well, that's Irish.
I think
so it's a little awkward, but you know what I mean.
It would be nice to have at least a Ukrainian interval act. I like the idea of Sam and Kalush. One thing I will say,
that'd be wonderful.
The people in chat saying that it might be Ariana Grande. I wish I had your optimism.
Why her? Is she British? She's
American. Never.
If it's Manchester, she's got a connection because of
that
years back.
Yeah, but she wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that for that reason.
No,
and also, just not going to happen. Like, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah, the one part I'd be more than happy out of anywhere in the show is, like, I would love to give the interval acts to Ukraine, basically.
All of them?
And just say, not all of them, because it is a British show, but I'd like to see more of a mix of Ukrainian, Sam and Kalush doing performing Stefania together would be wonderful, something like that. Jamala performing would be great, how she's performed 1944 in national finals. It takes on a new gravitas. Up and coming Ukrainian artists performing in the final, maybe, I don't know, sort of like Anuka in 2017. I thought that was brilliant. And I don't know if that's more because I'm worried what the British interval act might be, that I'd rather just give that bit to Ukraine and let them sort it. I don't know, but I think if you're not going to give interval acts to Ukrainian artists, what's the point? You're not reflecting their culture then. I think you need to give them at least half of the time available, especially it has to be in the final as well, because there's no point. Oh yeah, you will put the Ukrainian acts in the semi-finals and then we'll have the Brits in the final. That's not fair either. So
no, that is absolutely true. I think that would be a good idea to really, because that's the unity we're also talking about, having the UK and the Ukraine doing it both together. I just really think, just going back, just from an exposure perspective, the UK has a wonderful opportunity here to actually really make this Eurovision the most watched one. Just alone, the Ukraine situation, of course, will bring attention. But if they bring big names on top of it, this could be a really big event. Yeah. Potentially the most viewed Eurovision in many years of all time.
I think it certainly will be in the UK. I think the UK viewing figures next year will be astronomically big. Like, it will be, I'm willing to say, like 15 million. I think there'll be a lot of people watching.
And that's the sad part about the just real life situation. If you get the viewing figures up of the big five, you have a lot of views, and that's why they're in the finals, obviously.
Yeah.
So if you get the interest peaked and when the big names and everything situation, I think we have a really, really good show on our hands. So UK, no pressure. No pressure. But any other thoughts? I know we're a little bit over time here. Gabe, to summarize it, your hope, your expectations for the next 6 months, 11 months to Eurovision.
So let me tell you that despite the fact that I will continue to shill for it, I think it's incredibly unlikely it'll be in Newcastle. But it's not going to stop me. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to get my statistic in, which is that of all the cities, we talked about good weather, Newcastle is the driest city in Britain. So if you want good weather,
saying much, though,
is it going to say? Is it like it only rains like 320 days a year?
Yeah,
it rains like it's like 40 days a year or something. It's actually really low.
No chance. There is no chance that it's as little as that.
But I promise it hardly ever rains in Newcastle. Anyway, I'm just excited for what we'll bring. I just hope that this opportunity, is taken by the BBC to change the perspective of the public about Eurovision. If we get a good result next year and we put on a great show, it could change it in the long run, and that's really exciting.
Yes, and that's before I hand it to you, Sean. I was going to say that actually. I'm hoping, of course, UK uses the opportunity to really highlight and showcase they are a player, because there's a reason why they're the biggest music market in Europe, and that they can really turn around this perception that Brits have about the contest, and really this is the opportunity to really keep a lasting impact, certainly for the next few years, keeping people hooked and interested and giving the concert reputation it deserves. And I hope they don't mess it up. So that is what I'm looking forward to, how they handle it, how serious they take it. I am fairly optimistic, to be fair. So I feel good about it, but we know the BBC, so that's what I'm hoping for, that the BBC uses this opportunity wisely. Sean, what are you looking forward to? Like your hopes, your dreams?
Yeah, I saw a comment in the chat saying, will the semi-finals be moved to BBC One next year? I certainly hope so, because I think Italy did it with Rai One or Rai Uno. And, it showed in their viewing figures. And I think there was a real interest in Eurovision in Italy this year, more than there ever has been. We need to use this as an opportunity as well for that. We've got a really big responsibility here to give Ukraine a show that they can be proud of as well. I think there's a lot of pressure on this. Good luck to whoever's representing the UK next year. No pressure.
No pressure.
You got to follow up 466 points, and you're on home soil, and 15 million people at home might be watching.
Yeah.
And it's all that kind of it's all political.
You're not helping, Sean. Now you're scaring everyone away. Good job.
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
Well, I think I'm strapped in and I'm ready for this roller coaster. I never thought I'd see a Eurovision season where the BBC are the ones with all the keys of power. And it's exciting.
Allegedly.
And terrifying. Allegedly. It's exciting and terrifying in equal measure. I can't wait to see what happens. As long as there's no black sun on the stadium,
I think that's the bar we're using right now. It's down here. So
don't have moving parts on the stage.
Thanks for the PTSD there. That did not help. No, but that is where we're at, and we're so excited. I'm so happy that we get to do this journey together this time, that you guys are so excited. We're always excited about Eurovision. No matter where it takes place, there is just this special something when it's your country, and not my country, your country. I don't think my country will host anytime soon. Your country is kind of the driving, in the driver's seat. And that is, I want you to enjoy it. And because not that I'm trying to be a pessimist, who knows when it'll happen again. Do you know what I mean? So
a long time.
Or you may begin in 5 years. You never know. So, but that's all we have for today. And we'll be back soon with our next live stream. And of course, more videos. As always, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Before you head out, hit that like button, because the algorithm will reward us, because, the EBU is giving us a hard time making any money right now. So if you can help us this way, it is highly appreciated. Oh, no, I'll be honest about it. I'm not going to pretend that they are not trying to give us a hard time. So I will
Patreon as well.
Yeah. Anything. We can do it now. We're not in the press center, where they tell us you cannot make any, you cannot recover your costs. So we'll be back soon. So have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good whatever. I don't know where you are. Laters.